Settling leads to suffering every single time. I know this because I've been there. When I was dating my ex, I knew that deep down this was not my man. I think I knew that honestly before we even started dating. I went on for 2 years trying to make it work, trying to rationalize a lot of the thoughts, but every single time towards the end that I would leave his house, I would end up in tears, ignoring my gut that was screaming at me because anything major crazy happened, but because I knew that I wasn't trusting my gut. I was internally suffering, trying to convince myself that I was fine. I was just dealing with a little anxiety, trying to rationalize all of the reasons why it could potentially still work.
I don't think any of that's true.
You know, I hate to break it to you, sister, but if you're actually looking at this guy and knowing that he's not the right one for you, you are not doing a thing to make it work. If anything, you're going to be doing the exact opposite. You are going to be trying to collect as much ammunition as humanly possible to justify you leaving him, and that includes chewing too loud, him not wearing the right color socks that you want him to wear, or how he walks, or how he talks, or pretty much does anything. There is nothing too minuscule that you won't use against him to justify you leaving him as soon as another hot guy shows up to take his place. And even though you are accumulating all of this ammo, the one thing you are not doing is suffering. You're getting frustrated at him, and you're getting angry at the fact that there isn't another guy just waiting for you, but you are most certainly not suffering. The only guy that's suffering here is your ex-boyfriend because you're putting him through a living hell, all because of a feeling that doesn't really exist on this plane of reality.
I would lie to myself every single day, telling myself, oh, it's not that bad. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. Relationships take work, right? Honestly, love is not supposed to feel like a slow death of your spirit. When you settle, you betray yourself every single day. Realizing this now, that betrayal that you have on yourself hurts so much more than walking away from that person. Of course, it's gonna hurt, right? But that freedom that you feel, the weight that has been lifted off of your shoulders, like nothing can compare to that. You're feeling drained, anxious, you are forcing something to work, it's just not working. That is not love, that is self-abandonment. Staying when you know that you should leave only makes the pain so much worse.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. Now wait just a minute. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
Woman, you're in no position to talk about what love and what is not because you're clearly single and you sabotaged every single relationship you've been in because you feel like you've been entitled to more. And now you're using this concept that if you get with a halfway decent guy but he's not everything you ever want, then all of a sudden the relationship is doomed to fail because you're not happy, even though you're incapable of feeling happy. 99% of your identity is tied up in makeup products and giving some of the most cringe advice imaginable on TikTok. And the irony of that is that not only is the advice cringe, it's also tragically uninspired. I'm not kidding, woman. I have read greeting cards with more generic claptrap than what you're spewing out, and it's still more inspiring than anything you could ever possibly muster on your best possible day, mind you. But I think that has more to do with the fact that greeting cards aren't exactly in the business of sabotaging other people's happiness just for the sake of its own misery. But then again, it's a greeting card. Greeting cards may lie to me, but at least they do a better job doing it.
Oh, this is just so shocking. I mean, I must just be so monumentally naive.
You are.
When it comes to men, you only need to keep this one rule in mind. A good horse only jumps as high as it needs to, meaning that many men will try to achieve any goal with the least amount of effort. And that also applies to dating and women. So, if you are okay with him only taking you out on cheap dates and going 50-50, he will happily accept that. He gets to have you and he doesn't even have to put in that much effort. So that's basically a win-win for him.
It is. That's the point.
Woman, what you're describing is the basic condition for pretty much any living thing on the planet. Living creatures want to expend the least amount of energy as humanly possible in order to get the maximum amount of gain. That is how it's worked since the primordial soup. But what you're saying is the fact that if a man follows his basic instincts to want to put in the least amount of effort for the maximum amount of gain, that is somehow not only an insult against his character, but also a slight on yours. But I don't really see that being possible. You actually have to have character in order for something like that to happen. Now, if a woman is perfectly okay with this, well, then that means that she's interested in the man and not the activities that he can provide for her, which just proves the point that there's nothing wrong with low effort, except in your case. If a man puts in more effort than you deserve, then he is clearly getting nothing out of it, which just makes you a complete waste of time, energy, and money, but we really don't need to take you out on a date to experience that. Your presence is merely enough.
So next time he suggests a low effort date and deep down you don't really feel appreciated, and yeah, just kindly decline. Tell him you don't have time and something came up. When he suggests a nice date, that's when you'll accept his invitation. This is how you show him your standards without negging or causing any negative energy. If he steps up his game, great, but if he keeps being very, very cheap, then I hope you'll get tired of him.
I'll just move to North Korea. I'll just move to North Korea. Okay? Okay. I'll just move to North Korea.
Well, if your advice is just to keep women insufferable and single, then mission frickin' accomplished, I guess, lady, because everything that you're saying does not improve the chances of a healthy relationship happening. It just all but guarantees that you and your less than impressive brood of hive-minded idiots are just going to stay single for the rest of their lives. Now, if you're not really all that interested in going out on a coffee date, well then that's your prerogative, but here's the thing, woman. You think you're being the clever one by declining cheap dates and only going for the expensive ones, but here's what you're forgetting to understand. When men do that, they're also testing you. If you're totally down with grabbing a cup of coffee with him, then he knows that you're interested in him. But if you're passively aggressively declining these dates unless there's a higher price tag attached to it, then he knows the type of mess that he's getting into, and none of which involve getting into your pants, which is probably both a favor for him and for you, because nobody needs that kind of headache in their lives. Or the massive increase in antibiotics.
That's funny because it's so true.
It's far better to be the one that got away and stayed away than the one who stayed and who he changed for. Because I'll tell you what happens when you finally walk away from that avoidant man for the last time. Perfect example of this. Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber, they were on and off for 10 years. She loved that man. Just 6 months before Justin married Hailey, he was hanging out with Selena. And guess who he called 23 times on his wedding day? Hailey really thought that she won the prize. She finally was able to hold down the guy that doesn't typically get held down. She really thought, you know, I have the ring, I have the last name, I have the baby. He is truly going to love me now. No, he married her out of convenience.
And
Wow, Justin Bieber, huh? Man, you really are bringing out the big guns on this one. Using celebrity gossip to try to prove a point about average everyday relationships? Wow, you truly are a sage for our generation, woman. Let's just go ahead and talk about this for a second, because when it comes to celebrities, they are not an accurate representation of everyday life. Now, with the money and the property and all that stuff notwithstanding, every single thing that a celebrity does is heavily monitored and controlled by multiple aspects, including talent agencies, social media marketing, not to mention actual freaking governments. But hey, let's just go ahead and throw that out the window, because you're lonely and you don't want to admit to yourself or the entire planet that you completely wasted your life following meaningless celebrities. So naturally, you need to figure out a way to justify your complete waste of a life by relentlessly picking apart the nuptials of people you will never meet and have no idea that you exist. Yeah, that's time well wasted if you ask me, sister.
Now Selena, on the other hand, she mourned that relationship. She went through one of the worst mental health struggles of her entire life. And now, 6 years later, Selena announces her engagement, and guess who's crashing out? Because I'll tell you what happens when you finally walk away from that avoidant man for the last time. You don't just become his ex, you become the phantom ex. The one that he idolizes in his mind when he goes to bed at night, when he's sitting next to the other woman. You are forever the one that he compares his next partners and his wife to, and that is not a position that you want to be in.
oh, that's not right. No.
So it sounds to me like if you can't be with the guy that you want, but he somehow wants you but chooses someone else, the fact that he's losing sleep and suffering is something with which for you to celebrate? I mean, is that what we're talking about here? Are you seriously talking about reveling in the suffering of other people? Well, it wouldn't surprise me. You're a modern dating relationship coach, so that's pretty much all you have to stand on. I mean, lady, what you're talking about is incredibly messed up and also completely unsubstantiated. You're talking about curated interviews and social media posts, all of which provide absolutely no context to what you're talking about. And even if what they were saying were 100% true, who freaking cares? They're professional singers. They make more money in 10 minutes than you do in your entire lifetime, but that's not going to stop you from trying to live vicariously through their meaningless nuptials, because after all, you're single. You have no one to call your own, so you need to actually try to identify with people who wouldn't even piss on your head if it was on fire.
So frustrating. crying because when he had you, he didn't value you. But so long as you stay away, you have this idolized version in his mind, and he always thinks that the grass is greener on the other side, and that is classic avoidant attachment at work. You think you have it bad, you might cry for months, sometimes you might even cry for years, but this man is going to be crying and crashing out for decades because man's greatest burden is unfulfilled potential, and he will always wish he was a better man, and you will forever be the one that got away and got her life together.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
So you're saying that because you're assuming that you are taking up precious real estate in a guy's head that you somehow won, even though that guy is married and you're still hopelessly single. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But answer me this, woman. Who is the one that's more obsessed? The guy that is minding his own business, or the woman who is just assuming that she will forever be in that guy's head because of some relationship that went sideways? At the end of the day, you're still obsessing over this guy. You're just trying to hope that he is suffering without you, and that is kind of screwed up. Lady, for whatever reason, the relationship didn't work out. You need to move on with your life, and you focusing on the nuptials of Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez is not helping your case at all. All it's showing us is that you have no life outside of bitching about men on TikTok and divvying the rest of the time that you have equally among eating by yourself and binge watching celebrity news because you have no life to speak of. Just want to take a couple of moments to say thank you to the fine members of the Bounty Board over on Patreon for their continued support of my work as I get fine content out to you gentlemen and gents every single day. So to the fine members of the Bounty Board, thank you a billion trillion times over. All hail! And if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where $5 a month gets you access to exclusive content you're not going to find on YouTube. And of course, you can always support the channel by liking this video, sharing, leaving comments, and if you enjoy my particular brand of comedy, then I hope I've earned your subscription today.
I have this issue where I find almost no men attractive. Like, it's really, really annoying. Because I speak to a lot of men, right? I'm very social, I love to talk. I find almost no one attractive. So like, there's just like, it just doesn't go anywhere like ever. I get asked on dates, I'm like, no, pass. And then when I do find someone attractive, I'm like, I'm obsessed with you, I need you. If I don't have you, I'm gonna feel unwell. Like, I need them because it's so rare at this point.
Show a little respect. So, how many men have you slept with?
Gentlemen and gents, it's videos like this that prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that body counts do, in fact, matter. Here we have a woman who's clearly been around the block with Chad, Tyrone, Raphael, Marco, Chang, Wang, Takeda, and Taquito Jones, and here she is complaining that she can't find an attractive man. Well, this is what happens when you perform the bedroom bounce one too many times, and that is because women were never meant to have that many partners in the bedroom or when it comes to dating. You're supposed to find a guy that's within your league and then settle down with him in order to increase the odds of mutual attraction. I mean, it worked fine for thousands of years, but what does thousands of years of social evolution have on a woman who just wants a guy to be 100% physically perfect and attractive in order for her to be motivated to just want to talk to him? And if we're being perfectly honest, I'd feel horrible for that guy because that would be one boring ass conversation.
That it like makes it extremely difficult. Or like, even if they are attractive, like even if like, yeah, you're a pretty face, I just don't care to speak to them. Like, if I want to speak to someone, I will non-stop be thinking about like texting them or having a conversation with them. But it's so fucking rare. Like, it's so rare, and I just want to have a cute little fun crush and like whatever, but I can't even have a crush anymore because I'm just like, boring, like not interested, no desire for it. I need to like go to the gym.
Emotional, damn it! I think we need to take a second to appreciate the irony of a modern woman complaining that Chad is not intellectually stimulating when she has the intellectual prowess of a piece of burnt up drywall. And to all drywall who are a fan of this show, I do apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. It was just the first thing that came to mind. I really do hope you understand. I will give drywall a handwritten apology for what I just said because it really is leaving a bad taste in my mouth. Because unlike you you, Drywall. This woman is actually profoundly useless. I mean, woman, what did you expect was gonna happen here? You spent all of your prime years going after men who were out of your league and only interested in that slop trough of overused yogurt that you got packing betwixt your legs. And yet you were somehow shocked and appalled that you're the one who's bored with the men out there? Well, that's a really interesting take. It's not like we've heard that 18 dozen times on this program, and I really hope that those words don't come back to bite you in the ass, woman. Spoiler alert, they totally do.
Please keep talking about me on your stupid ass fucking podcast. Please. I'm actually begging for it. Please. On my hands and fucking knees, because that's what you think women fucking do. You want to make this about looks because I declined your invite to be on your podcast. I declined your fucking invite to be on your podcast, so you want to fucking talk shit about me on Twitter. Do you want to see the fucking DM? You DM me asking me to come on your fucking podcast, offering me $500. That doesn't even cover the flight from Tampa to LA. Doesn't even cover the flight. Covers maybe 30 seconds in a hotel.
I sure hope somebody picks up that phone.
Do what?
Because I f***ing called it!
Woman, it's the Whatever Podcast. This guy's gonna be talking about you whether you like it or not. And you wouldn't be able to talk about you if you weren't freely throwing up your garbage on TikTok for the entire planet to witness. Now, you're clearly butthurt over the fact that he was only willing to pay you $500, and now you turn around and try to play the misogyny card by saying that he's trying to make commentary on your looks when everybody's been doing that on the internet since you started posting your cringe for the entire planet to witness. It's not that he's the one shining light on this. You're the one that's shining light on yourself when you embarrass the living crap out of yourself to the entire planet on the freaking internet. You can't blame anybody when they pick up the ball that you fumbled and then they run with it. Now, if you feel like you're entitled to more money, well then do what this guy did. Start up a freaking podcast and make more money, then invite him and pay him $250 for the trouble. I'm pretty sure that he'd react the same way. He'd tell you no, but unlike you, he'd just move on with his life because he couldn't care less about what you have to say.
You can't even sleep for $500 in a fucking hotel in LA. Be so fucking for real. You invite me on your podcast, I tell you, no, I'm actually good. I thought for a second maybe, yeah, that'd be kind of fun. And then I was like, actually, I'd rather save myself the fucking embarrassment of even being on that fucking ugly ass misogynistic podcast that's fucking gross. And now you want to post about me on Twitter. That makes so much sense. You have nothing better to talk about than someone who rejected being on your fucking ugly podcast. Anyway, all the comments on Twitter say I'm hot, so just at me next time, I guess.
Liar, liar, liar. Hey lady, I hate to break it to you, but when you say you've got a whole bunch of dudes on your Twitter account who say that you're pretty, that is the modern woman's equivalent to some guy saying that his mother says that he's handsome. It's not nearly as big of a flex as you think, and it really just goes to show how embarrassing you truly are. And I didn't even know it was possible for you to keep doubling down on the embarrassment points the way that you are. It's actually kind of impressive. I mean, you cannot sit there in that average car that you drive and then look at the internet and say that nobody was making commentary on the way you looked until Brian at the Whatever Podcast decided to say something. I mean, come on, lady. If that's the case, then you are significantly more ignorant than I thought. And when we consider how low I have that bar when it comes to a modern woman's ignorance, and I'm gonna have to dig a little bit deeper because you take the freaking cake. Which honestly is kind of an apt metaphor at this point, because after it's all said and done and your looks fade and nobody wants to talk to you anymore, the cake is going to be the only comfort that you're going to be able to find in life. And that's going to do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you once again for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.